Please join me in welcoming this evening's speaker, Mr. Michael Moore.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wow. That's that's incredible. Hey, you want to pass this around? Hey, somebody keep an eye on that, right? It's the People's Oscar. All right, no, you're not supposed to scribble on it. All right, here. What's the bar we're all going to go to later, and then we'll pass it around? Where? Kreger's? Keggers? You got a bar called Keggers? Oh, McGregor's. Okay. You're welcome. Thank you for saying that. Man, I'll tell you, I don't know if I would have planned to be in Rochester if I thought all this was going to happen. A few months ago, and they said to come here, and I thought, well, let's see, what am I doing that week? Well, there's the Academy Awards. We're not going to win that, So seriously, I had no idea really that we were going to win this thing until probably about a minute before it happened. It kind of hit me that it could actually happen. I'd never been nominated before, and no documentary that was ever a box office success had won the Oscar since Woodstock in 1970. So historically, it was history was on the side of it not happening. So I decided, this just isn't going to happen. Would you like to hear the speech I was going to give? It was funny. We're sitting there in the audience, and in the commercial break, just before our category comes up, it's sort of. I thought, geez, well, what if this does happen? I've got nothing prepared to say, and. So it's true. So I'm sitting with my other nominees, the other 4 documentaries that were nominated. We're all sitting in the same area, and I just turned to them and I said, "Hey, look, guys, if I win, guys and women, if I win, I would love it if you would join me on the stage and share this moment. You've all, all of them made great films And I said, but I'm probably going to say something against Bush and the war. So I said only come up if you can sustain that, because I don't know what's going to happen. But no, they were wearing peace pins, and they were all very, let's do it. And then Diane Lane read off the name Bowling for Columbine, and I was just, oh my God. And so I motioned them all, let's go, come on up, and I went up on the stage and thanked the Academy for this great honor, and I said, we're all here, we all make nonfiction films, and we think nonfiction is important because we live in fictitious times with a fictitious president who was elected with fictitious election results. and we're fighting a war for fictitious reasons. And we're tired of all the fiction of duct tape and orange alerts. And we make these films to shed some light and some truth on all the fiction that exists. And that's exactly what happened when I said it. I hadn't got through the first line. The first sentence hadn't ended when somebody next to a microphone started going, "No, no, no." I thought, well, like, is somebody melting? Had I just thrown water on the Wicked Witch of the West or something? No, no. I went, where is this coming from? It was amplified, It was, and so then suddenly, then a small group up in the balcony started booing, and I can't see them because they're way up there. Down below, everyone who had just given me this beautiful standing ovation, no one's booing. I'm looking, where's the booers? No one's booing. Then he's like, boo! And then that's like, there's like a dozen of them up there doing that. Then everybody in the balcony who was supporting what I was saying started booing the booers. And it was a cacophony of booing. Booers, booing booers, and booers booing back at the booers, booing them for booing. And it was just like one big fucking boo fest. And I'm trying to get to the most important thing I wanted to say, which was, anytime you got the Pope and the Dixie Chicks against you, you're not long for the White House, Mr. Bush. But the band started playing some tune, and it was so funny. Afterwards, a bunch of the orchestra members came up to me to apologize because they were told to strike it up, strike up the tune. And they wanted to hear what I had to say, and I said, "Well, no, that's perfectly okay. I think this is what's good about America. It's people have a right to express themselves, and people have a right to disagree with what you're saying, and it's all good." I'm like most Americans. I've watched the Oscars in the past, and I've seen actors attempt to make a political speech, and it usually comes off really half-ass and stupid and dorky, and it never looks appropriate. But it's they're actors, and they come out and they're just there, to say something about something that has nothing to do with what's going on, and it always, honestly, it always struck me as a little strange. But to me, those comments seemed appropriate because that's what my film was about. My film, if you've seen it, Bowling for Columbine, is about the American culture of violence, and large chunks of the film deal not with guns and gun control, but it deals with the larger scope of American violence, as to why we are such a violent people, both at home and around the world. And if you've seen the film, there's a whole section on the film that goes through a montage of American aggression against the Third World for the past century or so, and it talks about, in the film, George W. Bush using fear to manipulate the population in order to get them to support a bigger defense budget, in order to get them to support Patriot Acts or to go to the next war. That's what the film's about. So the comments to me seemed completely appropriate because it was about the film. If I'd made a film about birds, I would have said something about birds. If I'd made a film about insects, I would have said something about insects. But I made a film about the American culture of violence in a week in which we had invaded another country to take human lives for what? In self-defense? I don't know how you were raised, but I was raised in an Irish Catholic home, and they sent us to Catholic schools. And we were taught that it is a sin to take another human life. It is immoral. It is the ultimate immorality to take the life of another human being. And you are never allowed to do that unless it is in true self-defense. In other words, if your life is directly threatened, or the lives of those around you, it is okay then to use violence to try to stop the violence. But that is the only time that it's allowed. Who in this room believes that Saddam Hussein was going to kill you tonight, or this week, or this month? Had Iraqis threatened you? Where were the weapons of mass destruction? Where was the information from the CIA that they kept promising to give to the weapons inspectors of these weapons of mass destruction? Well, he might do it. Well, yeah. And this guy down in the end, might beat me to a pulp tonight. Would you like to see me leap off the stage right now and beat him to a pulp first? No. I'm a nonviolent person. That will not happen. I'm sorry. But you know what I'm saying here, right? So, man, it was the 14th award of the evening. It was number 14, and it was the first standing ovation for an award that evening. And I was stunned as I walked up the aisle. I got up there on the stage, and they wouldn't sit down, and they're still applauding. And I got to tell you, honestly, the thought crossed my mind, man, the easy way here right now would just be to soak up all the love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Whoa, I would have ridden the high right out the building, right out to the Vanity Fair party. Would have schmoozed with all the stars. My fee would have gone up to astronomical heights for my next project. All in a matter of a few seconds, that went through my head. Oh, the voice in your head, it's in all of our heads. That's the slacker voice. Take the easy road, Mike. Take the easy road. That's what you've done all your life. That's why you like remote controls. That's why you like your lazy boy. Take the easy road. I'm cursed. I'm cursed. I'm cursed. I'm cursed because the other voice that's in there is saying, no, you have a responsibility. And people are dying, and they're dying in your name, Mike, because you pay your taxes. You pay your taxes, and you're funding this war. So even though you didn't vote for Bush, even though you've gone to your anti-war demonstrations, you've done all the right things, on that day when you go to the pearly gates, the question will be asked, so you were an American, huh? We got a little list here of what you did. No, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Did you pay your taxes? Yes, I did. Well, then you paid for this because you lived in a democracy where you actually had control over, No, we didn't. The majority didn't vote for this guy. It was one person, one vote, and all the votes should be counted, but then the rules got changed. We only count some of the votes now. And it's that voice in my head, it's that, it'll be the headline in the Rochester paper tomorrow. He claims it was voices in his head. Oh, scanners. You have a movie critic here. I was just talking to him, backstage, and he was asking me a number of questions. Really, I've known this guy since Roger and me. His name is Jack Garner, and he's a great guy. And he said, you know, I've been reading the stuff on the internet about you this week, and you know how egotistical that was to hijack the Oscars and self-aggrandizing and all this. And he goes, it's funny that nobody has really said what really happened, which is that you gave up your Oscar moment for something else. You know, you gave this up. And I thought, I started to tear up back there because I thought, geez, I'd flown my dad out there, and my wife was there, and my daughter, and my wife's parents, and we had about 9 family members that were there, and they were all so excited and so happy, and they didn't get to have that, you know, that sort of, you know, because of the whole raucous thing that happened. And I remember that night I felt really guilty, like I felt, you know, geez, I'd ripped them off of that moment. I ripped myself off of that, and you know, but come on, man, you know, it's a gold statue, for Christ's sake, right? You know, really, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I didn't start making these movies to get gold statues. You know, I didn't start doing any of this for that. You know, are you afraid of being, you know, blacklisted? This is what I was asked in L.A. Are you afraid of being? No. Geez, I mean, blacklisting would be, you know, like, you know, something pleasant. You know, I had to go through a publishing company that had already printed my book on September 10th, 2001, but then the next day, you know, it happened, and then they were going to shred my book. And I had to save that book from the shredder in a free and open society. So, no, you know, I'm kind of used to this by now. It doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean that it's a pleasant experience to go through. It's not something I look forward to. I am a normal person. I would rather just have the high, right, and just enjoy it. But not at the expense of those who are going to die, be they Iraqi civilians or the young men and women from the poor and the working class who are sent over there to die so that Bush and his buddies can have the oil. Because that's what's going on. They gave 3 awards to the pianist there on Sunday night. And I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's kind of like, let's turn the clock back to that time. Can you imagine somebody saying, if the pianist had gone up to accept an award in 1939 or 1940 or whatever, and made a statement against the inhumanity that was going on, and imagine people saying, well, now what's that got to do with our piano awards? You know, it's like, well, why are you bringing politics into it? Because 6 million are dying, that's why. Well, yeah, but I know, but these are the piano awards. You know, it's like, you know, you just, you know, you've got to do what you got to do, and everybody's got to make their own decisions for themselves as to what, you know, what that is. Can I get some water up here? Is that possible, or is that? Oh, sorry. Let's hear it. Seems to be an unusual number of security people in here tonight. Well, where do I begin here? Let me start with some good news. We live in a very liberal country. I don't think so, Mike. No, we do. We do. It doesn't, you never hear that. You'll never hear that line in the media anywhere. But the country you live in is actually very progressive and very liberal-minded. Look at any of the polls. The majority of Americans support, you know, I think the last poll I read, 80-some% want stronger environmental laws. 60-some% support Roe versus Wade, a woman's right to choose. 58% are pro-labor. They think labor unions are a good idea. You go down the whole list of issues, the public is very liberal on the issues. The problem is they don't have anybody to vote for to enact their feelings and their opinions, because there are no real liberal leaders. It's almost turned into an oxymoron if you use those two words in the same sentence, liberal and leader. Because the liberal leaders are usually the ones trying to figure out where to run for cover, how to change their position from day to day. And that's why Americans hate liberals, and that's why the word's a dirty word, because liberals don't have the courage of their convictions. Liberals are a bunch of wimps, all right? The other side, which you got to admire about the right, about conservatives, is that they believe in something. They do have the courage of their convictions. They are unyielding in the things that they believe in. They believe in it, and that is that. They are up at 6 in the morning. They're up at the crack of dawn trying to figure out who they're going to screw next. The poor, women, blacks, Hispanics, students, Our side, we never see the crack of dawn. When's the last time you actually saw the crack of dawn? It was probably because you were up all night. That's the only time you've seen the crack of dawn. So they're up a good 3 hours before us, getting a head start. That's what I love about them. They're organized. They're together. They're focused. You must have a conservative somewhere in your family, right? There must be one conservative in your family, right? You know who that person is, right? That's the person who never loses their car keys. Am I right? They always know where their keys. They probably have little hooks inside the back door with a little label. There's my SUV key. There's my Beamer key. My other SUV. Right? They're organized. Our side, we're like, have you seen my keys? No, I haven't seen your keys. I don't know where they... Well, why you always lose your keys? Well, no, you always lose your keys. That's how we sound. There's a whininess to our voice. Where do you want to go eat tonight? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Well, let's get some pizza. No, we had pizza last night. The conservative, they're like, get in the car, we're going to Sizzler. Decisive, impassioned, together. No wonder we lose all the time, Hi, my name is Tom Daschle. I'm the Democratic leader of the United States Senate, and I guess we could give Mr. Bush some of his tax cut, and I guess some of the death penalty's okay, and I guess we could get rid of welfare, kinda, and... Jeez. Now, so here you've got a majority of Americans who want stronger environmental laws, who believe in women's rights, who believe in labor, who believe in all these things. Even the things that Americans are conservative on, like the death penalty, the support for that in just 5 years has dropped from 80% to 58%. A huge drop. A huge drop. And the reason for that is that most Americans have a good heart. And even if they do believe in the death penalty in principle, they will never believe in executing an innocent person. And thanks to those students at Northwestern University and the others who have exposed over 100 people now that have been removed from death row because we found out they were innocent and we were going to execute them. Once you tell the American public this, once you give them the information, they will switch like that. And so they go from 80% to 58% on that. Bush's approval ratings. The only reason they've been high since September 11th is because anytime any group of human beings are attacked, they have a tendency to rally behind the leader. And this just happens to be who we're stuck with. In most Americans' minds, it's love the one you're with right now. All right? This is what we've got. We're going to have to just make do, you know. This is the guy. That's why those approval ratings are up. It does not mean they support his policies. The majority of Americans don't want to drill holes in the Alaskan wildlife. They don't they don't want to do that. They don't want that. They don't believe the upper 1% should own the 90% of all the wealth and the rest of them have to have 3 jobs in order to pay the bills. They don't believe in that. You need to feel good about the fact that your fellow Americans are actually quite good on these issues. That those of you who agree with these issues in this audience tonight, that you're in the majority now. You're in the mainstream political majority. We live in a liberal left-wing country with Americans who have no one to vote for to enact those liberal left-wing issues that they would like to see enacted, and so they give up. The majority of them give up. The majority don't vote. It's not because they're apathetic. It's not because they're lazy. It's because there's no choice on the ballot. If they have to go between Tweedledum and Tweedledummer, they would just as soon stay home. And no. Security. I may look crazy. No, it's this great disconnect, isn't it, between where our fellow Americans are at and what they're stuck with. Now, the majority of Americans now support the war, but remember, before the war started, the majority said that they did not want this war without the United Nations and all of our allies supporting it. That was where majority opinion was at. But now that the war has started, people were asking me this at the press conference backstage here, why do you think 70% are approving it? Well, they're approving it because it's their kids who are sent over there to die. When the pollster calls up the average working American or the average poor American, they don't want to say anything that's going to put their kid in harm's way. So they're going to answer positively because they want their children or their neighbors' kids to come back alive. That makes perfect sense. It doesn't mean they support this. You can't go out on the streets of Rochester tonight and find people out on the street going, I want to kill Saddam and all those Iraqis. There's nobody that feels that way. There's nobody that feels threatened by them. That is not Saddam Hussein did not attack Pearl Harbor. He did not fly planes into the World Trade Center. And the Bush administration has done a fairly good job confusing those issues, September 11th and Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with September 11th. September 11th. Oh, man. It really disgusts me that the dead of that day are dishonored in such a way where the Bush administration has used the dead, those 3,000 dead, in order to enact their right-wing political agenda. You know, it is just it's the most appalling. And to instill terror into the American people. Orange alert, yellow alert, red alert, high alert, war alert, this just in, breaking news, alert, you know, over and over and over again, right? You know, I mean, it's like, do you get the feeling that the U.S. military has taken over the American media? I mean, I can't believe these generals, every channel you turn to, there's a general telling us the truth. They got a general who's hired by NBC or MSNBC or Fox or whatever, telling us what's going on. Have you watched I mean, I know you're trying to turn the TV off, but you've got to turn it on once or twice this week and just see how the American public is being manipulated by the Pentagon, which is buying the news. Everywhere you turn, there's a general on the news desk. Tonight, I am demanding that the U.S. military remove its troops from CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, MSNBC. Bring the boys home. Bring the boys home. embedded. I love that word. They're embedded with the troops. We're high. This is David Blum. I'm embedded with the troops. I'm in bed with the troops. I'm in bed with Bush. I'm in bed with the Pentagon and Bush and the war and all the lies, right? Yeah, we got it all right. We say it again. Embedded? Yeah, I got it. We're embedded. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. We're just embedded in a cacophony of bullshit is what we're embedded in. It's just okay. Boy, I'll tell you though, man, Bush has got to be, boy, Osama bin Laden couldn't have come at a better time for him, huh? Yeah. You know, it was really, it was something too, right after September 11th. I remember watching the Fox News channel that morning at 9:15 a.m. This is 15 minutes after the second tower was hit, but while they were both still standing, the Fox News channel called it for Osama bin Laden. It's right there on the tape. Yes, we've learned from our sources at the State Department they believe this is the work of Osama bin Laden. Whoa. This is before the Pentagon's hit. This is before the plane went down in Pennsylvania. The Fox News channel is calling it for Osama bin Laden. Huh? Well, Osama bin Laden, I mean, you couldn't come up with a better boogeyman than this guy, right? Because right away, everything was Osama bin Laden. He was the mastermind of all the evil in the world. I am Osama bin Laden. I am the mastermind. I am going to kill everyone everywhere. I am a very tall Arab. I masterminded all this on September 11th from my cave in Afghanistan. From a cave in Afghanistan, he masterminded all this. I can't even get a cell signal from here to Syracuse. Are you shitting me? Did they expect us to believe that? Yes, believe. And then about a month after it happened, I don't know which news agency, they put out the story, and boy, you could just imagine how mad the Bush administration must have been when it came out that Osama bin Laden has been on dialysis for the last 18 months. He's on dialysis? What's he doing? Running from cave to cave in Afghanistan, hooked up to the kidney machine, Or maybe there's a dialysis machine in every fifth cave in Afghanistan. Yeah, maybe that's it. Hello, my name is Osama bin Laden. We didn't get those videotapes you used to send us. We don't get them anymore, right? I love those tapes. They were great. It was like, it was so cool. And the watch and everything. Hello, my name is Osama bin Laden, and I'm going to kill all Americans. Thank you and good night, Drive safely. And, and then they stopped coming. And I know why they stopped coming. Because a guy of that stature should not have to hold his own microphone. When you're making a video, you got a boom guy, you got a whole sound crew, he probably said, I'm not doing no more of these videos until I get a boom man. That's it. I want a bigger trailer too. So he probably walked off the set, didn't come back. I can understand that. But now he's on dialysis. Now that we learn he's on dialysis. Oh, my name is Osama bin. Oh, just a second. Oh, where's the head? Oh. Osama bin Laden. Mastermind. See, it didn't work. It didn't work for long, and you stopped hearing about him after a while because, you can't keep up. You can't have one guy against the world's only superpower, because it's just, it doesn't look right, we're mustering all these resources to fight one guy, right? So then they came up with Al-Qaeda, right? Al-Qaeda. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to spell it. And I'll tell you, there's nothing that makes us Americans more frightened than anything. It's something we can't spell. Gaddafi, Al-Qaeda. What was Al-Qaeda, really? What is Al-Qaeda? It's like a men's club, right? It's like Osama's men's club. So we've got all these nuclear weapons, the big U.S. Army, and we're going to fight Al-Qaeda? That's not going to get my juices going. I want a real fight. That's why I miss the old Soviet Union. That was a real fight. Mano y mano. You know? Now it's like us and Al-Qaeda. No. And you see, finally, and then Bush figured it out. He got it right. No, you got to fight another country. But with him, you see, it's like, no, it can't just be one country. It's got to be three. The axis of evil. Right? That was the new enemy now, the axis of evil. Iraq, Iran, and North Korea. Iraq, totally decimated. We've bombed them to, I don't know, the last 10 years, we've been running bombing runs every week. I don't know if it hasn't been in the news much, but we've already been at war for about a decade with this country. We've bombed all their water treatment facilities. We've bombed their refrigerated warehouses. The people are starving. They don't have clean drinking water. The United Nations estimates that 500,000 children have died in Iraq as a result of our sanctions and our bombing. That's Iraq. And then, but let's go after them first because they seem to be the weakest link in the axis of evil. So we start this whole thing going against Iraq a few months ago. And North Korea, they're over here going, hello, we already have the bomb, hello, over here. Well, you don't need to go after them, we already have it. You could just see the Bush administration the day that the North Koreans did that. Shut the fuck up. Fuck up! Who let them into the axis of evil? Wait your turn. We'll get to you. Oh. In 1979, the bin Laden family funded George W. Bush's first oil venture called Arbusto. You aware of this? It's in the New York Times, buried in the business section. It's there, though. You can look it up. Arbusto, Spanish for bush. Actually, shrub, I think, is the correct translation. 1979. The bin Ladens have been funding the Bushes for over 2 decades. Isn't that odd? Does that strike anybody as strange? Where are our journalists? Why hasn't anybody asked a question? I don't know what it means, but it just seems kind of weird. Well, Micah, the bin Ladens, they've disassociated themselves with Osama. Really? Well, what's that videotape I saw on the BBC of Osama's mother and a couple of his siblings having a party with him 2 months before September 11th? Doesn't look too much like he's been disowned. Where's the money coming from? Coming from Saudi Arabia, right? What's going on here? Can't go there. Whoa, don't go there. Saudi Arabia. Yeah, them's our friends. Those are the business associates of Daddy Bush, right? Can't go there. But you can go there. You can go to the Reuters website. You can find the photograph of Barbara and George Sr. whenever they have a little sleepover. George Sr., by the way, was the elected Bush. Whenever they visited Saudi Arabia since he left the White House, they stay at the Bin Laden Palace. There's the photographs of them at the Bin Laden Palace. What's going on? Don't go there. 15 of the 19 hijackers of September 11th were from Saudi Arabia. Have you read a headline that said Saudi Arabia attacked the United States? Let me just ask you this. If 15 of the 19 hijackers had been from Cuba, who do you think would have done it? Who do you think they would have told us did it? 15 of the 19 are from Cuba. 15 of the 19 were from North Korea. How about that? What would the headline have said? It still would have said Saddam Hussein did it. But no, we don't see that, right? You don't see that. Isn't it odd, huh? And so then they go around, they round up all the Arab-looking men, or Arab Americans, or suspected Arabs. We pass quick laws that allow them to we can put them in jails with no charges, secret jails. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're at. We don't know how many of them are still in jail tonight. This is America. How can that happen? What, because Osama bin Laden was Arab? Because the 15 and the 19 were Arabs? I guess that's why we're going to do it? Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of this mass murder? Actually, isn't Osama bin Laden a multimillionaire too? He is, right? He's worth about $30 million. Why didn't they profile all the multimillionaires? Why haven't they rounded up all the multimillionaires and put them in jail? How come we haven't seen a headline that says, multi-millionaire attacks World Trade Center? Is there any untruth in that headline? Multi-millionaire plots attack on World Trade Center. Not going to see that headline, are we? No. So there we have the Bushes and the Bin Ladens in bed with each other. And then immediately on September 11th, Bush approves a plane, a Saudi jet, to fly around the United States and pick up 24 members of the Bin Laden family and their associates in 5 different cities, collect them all in Boston, and a couple days later then fly them over to Paris, out of the country. The FBI was furious, unable to conduct a full investigation and questioning of Saddam's siblings. Usually, you see, this is how it works. The police, when there's a murder, they like to go talk to the family members when they can't find the murderer. You've seen Law and Order, right? Or NYPD Blue. Here's how it works. Police go knock on the door. Have you seen your son? Have you seen your brother? Do you know where he might be? Can you help us out? Can you give us some tips? You know, that's kind of police work 101. No. Oh, no. Can't talk to any of the Bin Laden siblings. Free ride out of the country. Now, how bizarre is this? In the 10 years since George Sr. left the White House, he starts up a defense firm called the Carlyle Group. Well, actually, it does a number of things. Defense is one of them. And they're the 11th largest defense contractor in the United States, though they build no weapons. What they do is they buy up failing defense companies that are losing money and turn them around and sell them for a profit. That makes them the 11th largest defense contractor. George W. Bush, John Major, Carlucci, who was Reagan's defense secretary, a bunch of these guys. That's their company, the Carlyle Group. And who are one of the main investors of the Carlyle Group? The Bin Laden family. Now let me ask you something. When Clinton was president, right after Oklahoma City happened with Timothy McVeigh, grew up nearby here, what do you think would have happened if suddenly it was revealed in the newspaper that the McVeigh family had been funding the Clintons for the last 20 years? What do you think the press would have done with that? Huh? Oh, forget Whitewater, right? Forget Monica, right? What would they have done with that? Why, here's pictures of Clinton staying at the McVeigh house. Oh, no connection to that. No. Just a coincidence. 290 million Americans, and he just happened to be staying at the McVeigh house. Or how about this? What if, on the day after Oklahoma City was bombed, Clinton allowed a special private jet to be flown to Buffalo to pick up all the members of the McVeigh family because he was worried about their safety and give them a free trip to Paris? Do you think anybody would have asked a question about that? Do you think anybody would have wondered what the hell is going on? You know the answer to this. And yet, why is it, in a year and a half since September 11th, we don't have a single journalist willing to ask these questions? What is going on here? What is the truth? We want the truth. We want the truth. I don't have the answers, but I think it's right to pose the questions. If we cease to ask the questions in a democracy, the democracy ceases to exist. If we stifle dissent, if we discourage a free flow of discussion and ideas, we become less of a society. The more informed the public is, the better decisions they'll make. That's true with anything, right? Whether it's buying a car, whether it's doing, anything, the more informed you are, right? Hopefully, then you'll be able to make the best decision possible. But if you're given just a few choices, we've got 2 companies now that own most of the radio stations in this country, and we've got 6 or 7 media companies that own all of our television and our movie studios and our recording industry. Is that good in a free society, to have the control of information and the expression of ideas in the hands of just a few people? How did we get to this place? How did we allow this to happen? We are not better off as Americans as a result of this, and that's why I encourage people to get your news now. You've got to go on the internet. You've got to go to the BBC website. You've got to go to the Guardian website in London. You've got to go to the CBC in Canada. They're traditional mainstream media in these other countries. I'm not talking about sending you some left-wing site. I'm just talking about just go to some mainstream places in other countries, and you're going to learn things that you're not learning in this country. What is it that we're fighting and dying for? Where is the freedom? It seems to be the Bush idea here is that when our freedom is attacked, we need to limit our freedoms. We need to limit the freedom of the people. That's how we'll show them we're a free people. We'll cut back on all our freedoms. That'll show them. We'll become more like those other societies that are less free. That'll show them. It's like insane, isn't it? This is a time when we should expand the freedoms, when there should be more freedom, where we say, you know what? Yeah, okay, kill 3,000 of us. You know what? Now we're going to be more free. But that's not the approach, is it? It's not the approach, because there's something else going on here. It's not really about the freedom, is it? It's about how can that top 1% get even richer. That's what this all comes down to. And the saddest thing about what the rich have done to the middle class in this country, probably to many of your parents, is that they got filthy rich. These ultra-rich people got filthy rich in the 1980s during the Reagan and first Bush era. And then in the 1990s, they decided, what we need to do to get the stock thing up even higher? We need to get the middle class to give us their money. We need to convince them that they too can be rich just like us. Convince them that they can invest in the stock market and they can become wealthy too. And that's what happened. All these working Americans invested their meager life savings in the stock market, thinking that they could be like the rich man. And as soon as they had everybody's money in it, and all your parents had taken out their 401ks, and all this was there, bam, that's the end of it right there. And now how many people do you know have lost their life savings, have lost everything they had, or they're down to practically nothing? People who don't know if their pension is going to be there now. Enron, the 5th largest company still on the Fortune 500 list. Pensions gone. How many other Enrons and WorldComs and Adelphis and all these other companies? How many more will we see while they got rich off the backs of these people? You would think there would be a revolt by now amongst the average American. And I'm telling you, you need to understand that a lot of those conservatives we were making fun of earlier for always knowing where their car keys were, they're ready to do something. They have had a rude awakening because they believed in the American dream. I mean, they were behind that American dream 100%. And then the American dream became their American nightmare. And it's our job at this point to try and offer something to them, a different road, a different path. Not let the right wing take them down the ugly, hate-filled paths, but down another path that says, you know what? There's a different way to do this. It's called Norway. No. You got to read up on this country, man. You ever hear of Norway? Iceland, too. I mean, the health care that they've got. But, of course, you see, they control the oil. The people control the oil. They don't allow private companies to control the oil. And they use that oil money to make sure that everybody has complete health care, dental care, eye care. In fact, there's in Norway, if you just say that you need to take a few weeks off just to clear your head, they pay you for that. It's a wonderful system. Meanwhile, we've got 40 to 50 million people in this country that can't get any health care. 40 to 50 million people. I mean, it's just, I mean, let me just say this to those of you who don't support universal health care. Aren't you afraid of what the anthropologists are going to write about you 400 years from now? They're going to dig up our culture, and they're going to see that we were the richest country on earth. And they're going to have symposiums on us. Look at these people. They were the richest country on earth, and all they did was take a piss on their poor. The more wealthy they got, the more they made the poor suffer. It was the weirdest, and they went to church. We're going to have to leave a note behind to explain our actions. Why did these people behave that way? And look, and you see, and unfortunately, thanks in part to this town, we invented film in video in the last century. So we're leaving behind a record of us running around doing this and doing things like, campaigning and going to conventions and look at this, I'm free, I live in a democracy. And they're going to, and 400 years from now, they're going to go, look at this. The upper 1% controlled both political parties and yet got the other 99% to run around campaigning for those and voting for those political parties. No, yes, look, yes, it's true. Look at this. There's a thing, a video thing here. Look, these are people back then, actually, they're walking into voting booths voting for candidates of these rich people. These candidates are only going to do the bidding of these rich people. And yet, look, they're walking willingly into the voting booth. Look, there's no guns or anything. No one's forcing them to do this. They're actually going, I have a little sticker, I voted. I'm an American, I'm free, I live in a democracy. Look at this. Oh, we're going to look stupid. We're going to look stupid. Whoa. Oh, burn the tape! Burn the tape! I don't want to look like this. Oh, no. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? 2 political parties. Hey, I'm all for the rich having political representation. They are Americans, just as you and... No, seriously. They do deserve to have their voices heard, and they deserve representation. 1% representation. That's what they deserve. That's what they deserve. And how is it that we've allowed this to happen? I know we all feel kind of hopeless, don't we? We're filled with a lot of despair. What can we do? It seems so overwhelming. If you do anything, you'll get booed at the Oscars. Yeah, there's a number of things we need to do. And there are things we can do. First of all, we have to start believing in our own power. I mean, we are the majority. We are the majority. It's a liberal majority. That's why when you turn on right-wing talk radio, you know why they're all so angry, all those angry guys on right? You got to have some empathy for them. The reason they're angry is that they know they're a minority. They know the world has passed them by. They know that women now do what they want to do. They know all these things. And it just... Imagine if you believed in a certain way and then the world changed and you were left behind in the 20% who are part of your right-wing minority. You would be angry too, and that's why they sound like that. So have some pity for them when you hear them on the radio, because they're just going insane to see the death penalty support drop from 80 to 58% in 5 years, meaning in just a couple more years, we're going to have a moratorium on the death penalty. Stuff like that, you could just see their brains just go, whoa, whoa. So that's why they're upset. But you live in a liberal country, you're in the majority, and you know what? The head of General Electric or Xerox or GM has got the same number of votes as you or I, 1. And there's more of us than there are of him. So what's holding us back? Why aren't we doing the work that needs to be done? Everyone in this room right now should think about running for public office. Every single one of you. If you're 18 years or older, you can run for public office. I'm not just being flippant about this. You could run for precinct delegate. You can get involved. You can go, I'm telling you, if you went to, what's the county? What's this county? It's not Genesee County here, is it? Monroe County? Flint, actually, where Flint is in Michigan, that's Genesee County there. All the people from Flint, please applaud. The diaspora is very wide. No, but if you went to the Monroe County Democratic Party this month, I can guarantee you there won't be more than 10 people at that meeting. Seriously, that most people have just checked out of politics. If you brought yourself and 15 of your friends, you could take over the Monroe County Democratic Party. You could just take it over. I'm serious. Most people don't even think of doing it because you think it's this big, massive machine and all that. It's all crumbled now because nobody gets involved anymore. It's there for the taking. You can be Greens and go in and take it over. You can turn it into the Green Democratic Party. You can... That's one thing you can do, though. You can think about running for office. You can think about getting involved right now and getting somebody to run for local positions, school board, city council, county executive, all these things here, getting the right people to run and then getting out there and getting people to vote for them. It's not just about the money. The money helps, but I'm telling you, word of mouth and grassroots, that's a great thing. That's something that can really make a difference. We need to work on two different tracks here at the same time. We need to take over the Democratic Party, and we need a viable third-party movement, actually, which I would call the second-party movement, because the two parties are really one party these days. But we need to work on both tracks, because you need this flank over here always as a threat to the Democrats, that if they don't behave, they're going to lose. So that's why you need the Greens or whatever it is locally here, you need to support them and get involved so the Democrats know that they can't be acting like Republicans and expect people to go vote for them. They won't operate. If they don't have that threat, that's what they'll do. You need to find the courage of your own convictions, and you need to not be afraid to stand up for what you believe in. You need to talk to other people, and you need to talk and you need to listen to other people. Don't talk to people with slogans and, this kind of in-your-face thing. You need to really listen to other people and try and bring them along. I mean, a lot of people don't like to get involved in politics because they just see it's those, 5 kids at the Greenpeace table for 12 hours a day, and they're going, I can't do that. It's like, I got laundry to do, and so they don't get involved. We need to invent a slacker politics. We need to, because there's so many people out there that would like to get involved or do something, they just don't have the time or the energy or the whatever. And instead of berating them, we need to go and meet them where they're at. And I've been a big believer in this for a long time. That if we could create an atmosphere where it's about a lot of people doing just a little bit instead of just a few people having to do so much, we get a lot more done. So you need to be welcoming to those who are not, certified lefties or they don't read the Progressive or the Nation or In These Times or Alternet or whatever. You've got to be opening and welcoming, and you got to live in the real world, the world that your fellow Americans live in. You got to listen to country music and you got to listen to rap. These are the voices. These are the voices of the working class and the poor, and there's some very interesting things being said in both of these forms of music. I've been saying this for a long time, and when you come from Flint, Michigan, this is not a left-wing town, it's not a college town, and so I'm not of this mentality of being in this sort of lefty kind of leftoisie kind of thing, if you know what I'm saying. So let people be who they are. Maybe you should watch some of the TV shows they're watching, just so you can talk about, what Ross is doing to Rachel. It's like, open your minds a little bit to what other people are living through, so that you can meet them where they're at, because that's how we're going to come along. They're not going to willingly come up to the table. I'll tell you a story. It's getting kind of warm up here. Can I get another water? Is it just it's just left there like bait for me? And then thank you, sir. Oh yeah. Aquafina. What is this stuff? Yeah. It's tap water. Right. Oh, okay. So, all right, now where was I? Oh, I was taking my shirt out. That was Sorry. Just minor adjustments. See, I have hair. What do you say? $12? What do you say? 12 guns? Oh, there we go. What film is that? There we go. All right. Tomorrow is my 90th day without eating any sugar or any flour. So I have a hard time keeping my pants up these days. If anything happens behind this podium, I'll not tell you about it. There we go. I was 16 years old, and the principal of my high school selected me to go to boys' state. Do you have boys' state and girls' state here when you're in high school? Oh man, I don't know why I got picked to go to this thing, but it's like you go there to the state capitol when you're a sophomore or junior in high school. You're picked 10 kids from every high school in the state, and you go there to play government for a week. So all these high school kids elect like the governor, the lieutenant governor, state assembly. And I got there to the Michigan State campus, and boy, I just went, oh geez, I don't want anything to do with it, because all these kids that were there, they were all like Reese Witherspoon in Election. Have you seen that film, Election? Yeah, it's a great film. Huh? Didn't you all know a Reese Witherspoon, Tracy Flick in your high school? Yeah. You just wanted to stay so far away from them. And that's what I did. I went in my dorm room and I just locked the door. I was going to stay in there for a week, and I had my munchies and I had my headphones, and I was just going to listen to music. And but halfway through the week, I ran out of munchies. So I went down the hall to the munchie machine, and they had just invented this new potato chip then called Lay's Ruffles potato chips. You know, with the ridges, right? And see, I was thinking, wow, this is really cool because I'm getting more chip per chip with a ridge after ridge after ridge. And so I go down there to the munchie machine, and on the bulletin board is a poster, and it says, "Speech contest for boys staters. Write a speech on the life of Abraham Lincoln and win a prize. Sponsored by the Elks Club." And I'm going, the Elks Club. Now, I knew about the Elks Club, and this is what I knew about them. This is 1970 now. On their application form, it read, "Caucasians only." It's 1970s. It wasn't that long ago. Back then, private organizations could discriminate still on the basis of race. And I thought, now, isn't this ironic that a racist organization is sponsoring a speech contest on the life of Abraham Lincoln? So I looked at that, and I'm eating my Ruffles, and I'm going, I'm going to go write me a speech. So I go back to my room, and I wrote this speech out, and I show up the next day to give the speech, and there's no Elks in the room. They hired speech teachers from Lansing high schools to be the judges. So I give the speech. "How dare the Elks Club come here, and this racist organization should be removed from this contest. They have no right. They're a bunch of bigots," and whatever else I said. And I won the contest. It was so weird. And then they said, "Now you've got to go out on the stage and give the speech." And I'm going, no. Because I'm the original slacker. I'm like, no, I don't know. "No, you have to give the speech." So they shoved me out on the stage. There's 3,000 boys. I give the speech. And sitting right behind me is this guy with a hat with horns coming out of it. It's the chief elk. Like the head stonecutter on, Homer Simpson, And he's all, "How dare this racist organization come on this campus?" Well, I finish the speech. All the boys stand up and cheer, and I walk off, and there's a reporter there, and she interviews me. I don't know what I said. And an hour later, I go back to the dorm room to get my munchies. And an hour later, there's a knock on the door.
Yeah, there's a guy from the CBS Evening News on the phone. He wants to talk to you.
Well, where's the phone?
It's down at the end of the hall.
See, this is a lot of aerobic activity for me to I have to go all the way down to the hall, get the phone. So I go down and I pick up the phone. Yes, I'm a producer from the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. We heard what you did today in Lansing, Michigan, and we'd like you to come on the evening news tonight and tell us about it. No. Well, this is the CBS Evening News. I don't care. There's not enough Clearasil in America to get me to go on TV. I'm not going on TV. No. And so I don't go. I don't go on. But it doesn't matter. They do the story anyways. Uncle Walter that night. And tonight in Lansing, Michigan, a 16-year-old boy took on the Elks Club for their discriminatory practices and blah, blah, blah. Oh, the next day the shit hits the fan. It's in every paper in the country. There's calls for congressional investigations. And they want to fly me down to Washington, D.C. to testify in front of Congress. I'm going, no. Star Trek is on. You know, it's like... 6 months later, the Elks Club and all these private men's groups are forced to integrate. And I'm going, this was like, I'm 16 years old, and I can't believe this has happened. I'm thinking, this is a very dangerous lesson to learn at 16 years old, right? That you could accomplish something huge by doing something so small. And all because I wanted a bag of Ruffles potato chips. You know, it's like... So, like, as a teenager, I'm like, geez, that's all it took. This is what you can, you know. So it was like early on, I started seeing how, what if the word got out that you can affect world change by being a slacker, by just doing, you know, scribbling some words on a piece of paper and reading them. That's all that was, you know. And so when I was 18, I ran for school board. I wanted to fire the principal and assistant principal. You probably read that in the story in the book, you know. And the adults in the community got so freaked out that this long-haired hippie, 18-year-old, was running. I was still a senior in high school. They ran 6 other adults against me to try and stop me. But all that did was split up the majority adult vote. And so I came in first place and got elected to the Board of Education. And it was like, you know, I came home this one day and it said 18-year-olds now allowed to vote and they're going to have a school board election. So I called up the county clerk and I go, well, I just read where 18-year-olds can vote. Can we, like, run for office too? Well, what office would you like to run for? School board? Yes, 18-year-olds can run for school board. I'm going, wow. You know? I'm going to fire the principal and assistant principal. You know? But right away, the other voice kicks in, right? The easy voice, right? Take the easy path. Wait a minute, Mike. You're going to run for school board? You're going to need to get thousands of signatures. Probably going to cost you some money, you know, all this time, you know, but you're 18. You should be dating by now, you know. It's true. I lost my place. So I said to the county clerk, I said, so, like, what do I got to do if I want to, you know, get on the ballot? You need 20 signatures. 20? You know, I'm thinking, man, I know 20 stoners who would sign anything, you know? It's just like... I got my 20 signatures and got on the ballot. That's all it was. The slacker way to political office, 20 signatures. And a promise to fire the principal and assistant principal. I brought out everybody who had graduated from high school in the last 10 years. Like 80% turnout among 18 to 25-year-olds. Got in. 9 months later, the principal and the assistant principal were asked to resign. I convinced my school board members that it was time for a change. So you see, 16, 18 years old, right? I'm cursed at that point because now I realize, oh, geez, you know, we can get something done and I don't have to leave my lazy boy so for too long. So that's what we need to figure out. That's where we need to figure out how to make politics more welcoming, more accepting, more accessible to our vast, lard-ass fellow American audience. God bless them. You're not going to change them, so let's go to where they are and let's get them on board because they don't like the environment being destroyed. They believe a woman has the right to control her own body. They believe people have a right to bargain for a better wage and better benefits. They believe in all those things. Those are our fellow Americans, and we need to go out there, organize them, and get this country back in our hands.